Hello there, gang. Welcome to the 30. This is your host, Patrick. We are live and certainly direct with the 30. This is Thursday once again. If you are watching this live, I want to thank you. If you're getting this in replay, we certainly want to thank you for checking out our show. This is about leadership. This is about entrepreneurship. This is certainly about small business. Today, we're going to be continue our conversation around strategies. Specifically, today we'll focus on strategies for enhancing your team, meaning enhancing your team's success. So we'll talk about that. Last week, I gave you some strategies for continued team growth and organizational growth. Today, we're going to be focused specifically on how can we help you to enhance your team's performance. So make sure if you are currently leading a team, or if you have led a team, I want to hear from you. I want to hear some of the strategies that you have deployed or employed over the time that you've led teams. Or if you intend to lead teams, I want to hear some of the things that you would consider as you lead your individual team or teams. So stick around. We'll be right back. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about, I'm going to give you about 4 or 5 specific strategies that I've used or I've seen used, and that we've also taught in our training. We've also coached leaders as to what to do and how to utilize these strategies. So give us about 10 seconds and we'll be right back. Again, welcome to the 30. I am your host, Patrick. Today, we're going to be talking about strategies to help you as a leader or manager enhance your team's performance. So when we look at teams and how do we get the teams from where they are to where you desire them to be, or even where your team members desire to be, there are some very specific strategies that I'm sure you have used or you continue to use. But what I want to do is really help you to enhance that, right? As a leader or a manager, we all want to have successful teams. We all want to have high-performing teams. We all want to help our teams, but more importantly, get to the point where we are helping the organization that we are working for or working with, help them to succeed. So there are some specific strategies that we're going to be talking about. So let's go ahead and get that right now. The first one, obviously, is to embrace diversity. Diversity of people, diversity of thought. You know, as I engage leaders and engage teams in training, we talk a lot about how do we go about diversifying our teams. Why is it important for us to diversify teams, and whether it's in race, whether it's in gender, whatever it is, in terms of looking at how do we diversify? Why is it important? Well, number one is that you don't want your teams to be like you, right? You don't want everyone on the team to be like one person. So we want to make sure that you have a diverse team that will bring a different perspective. They're looking through a different lens. So obviously, they're going to bring something different to the table. So you want to encourage that. As a leader, you set the atmosphere. As a manager, you set the atmosphere and the environment, which allows for diversity of thought. You don't want everyone to be thinking the same way. That's kind of boring, right? And you get the same result. So you want to have people that are not like you, that don't think like you, that can enhance the conversation around whatever you are thinking about or whatever tasks you are doing. So it's incumbent upon you as a leader, and as a manager to make sure that when you're hiring or when you're looking to bring others onto the team, whether through transfer, whether through promotion or new hires from the outside, that you look for individuals that are different, that are not carrying the same thought or idea or look like you. So that's the first one, is really embrace diversity in thought and diversity throughout, and also diversity in a wide range of skills, right? Sometimes we as leaders and managers, we think that we know it all. In essence, we don't. So we want to make sure that we bring others on board with us that can help us to really look at things in a different light. So we come with one set of skills. We want to make sure that we have our team members with a wide range of varying skills. It only goes to the upliftment of your team. It only goes to the improvement of your teams. The second one, in terms of strategy, is to really set clear and concise, right, goals, roles, and responsibilities. Now, what that means is that communication is key. That's another one. But let's look at number two. The second strategy is, how do we go about setting clear, concise, and goals and responsibilities? So as a leader, you really have to look at, what is the vision of the organization? What is the mission of the organization? And then ask yourself, the goals that I have for my team, does it line up with the goals, the mission, the vision of the organization? If it does not, then you need to do something a little bit different, because your goals or your team goals should always be aligned with the mission, the vision, and the goals of the organization as a whole. And knowing that, your team members also need to know, what are the goals? What are the goals of the team? What's the vision and mission of the organization? So as a leader, you need to know that, but you also need to communicate that to your team members. So the third one is clear communication. Be articulate in what you say and what you do. You need to be clear as you set forth the goals. You need to be clear as you set forth the roles and responsibilities. There should be no misunderstanding, or no one should have a lack of clarity as to what those goals are. So as a leader, you need to be able to communicate, not just say, because communication is both ways, right? Communication is not just how you say it. It's not just what you say, but it's how you say it. Is tone of voice as well. It's the excitement. So you bring that passion and excitement to your team. But communication is also listening, not just hearing. There's a difference between hearing and listening. So we listen. We just don't talk. We listen to what our team members have to say. So be clear in what you say, but also have clarity in making sure that your team members understand what you're saying and where you are coming from. So clarity in communication, what is said, how you say it, and more importantly, listening to what your team members are saying. That's a valuable part. There's a great quote, I think it comes from Theodore Roosevelt, who says, "People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care." Great quote. So the next one comes into, the third one is knowing your team and them knowing you. So you may say, well, Patrick, why do I need to know my team? Why is it important? I just tell them what to do and they should do it. Well, I'll tell you what, in this climate where it's hard to find great employees, good talent, if you carry that attitude, you're not going to have any quality employees. They'll leave you. right? So we want to make sure that we know what we know each and every person on our team. I'm not saying that you should know what they did last night or last week, but you should have some knowledge as to who they are. What are their goals? What are their short-term and long-term goals? We do this exercise in our training when we're training leaders, and part of it is really an activity to understand how well do you know your team. See, we all think that people are motivated or driven by money. Not necessarily. Not everyone is driven or motivated by money. Some are driven or motivated by recognition. Yes, some may be driven by money, but not so much in terms of the money itself, but what can that money do? What can that dollar, what can that $1,000, what can that $100,000 do to help them and their family? So you need to know that. It's important for you as a leader or a manager to really sit down and have a conversation with your team members. What are their short-term goals? What are their long-term goals? What gets them up in the morning to come to work? What are their drivers? See, sometimes we think, well, I can motivate my team. Well, that's another discussion, because we believe that motivation is more internal as opposed to external. But as a leader, if you want to be successful, if you want to drive and enhance performance of your team, because that's what we're discussing here, take some time to really know your team. Yes, you may have a large team. I'm not saying that you should do this in a one meeting, but set some time out. Do some one-on-ones. Really identify, Bob, what are some of the drivers? What drives you? What are your short-term or long-term goals? Where do you see yourself going? How can I help you get there? What's your development plan, right? So you really need to sit down and have a conversation with your team. It goes back to my saying, it goes back to that great quote from Theodore Roosevelt. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. By knowing your employees, by caring for your employees, for your team, I guarantee you that you'll be further along that as opposed to you not knowing them, right? People really want to know about you and you about them, which leads us to the next point, is transparency. If you come in, if you are task focused and you're always driving task without really sharing, well, what are some of the things that you did that you weren't successful about? People want to hear from the heart. What are some of your failures or setbacks? What are some of the things that you've learned over the past? How can you help me to overcome it? So people want to, your team wants to know this. The more transparent you are, what you're doing is actually building trust between you and them. So don't be afraid to share what you've gone through. Don't be afraid to share some of your failures or your setbacks as a leader. Don't be afraid to share, well, you know, I did this and it didn't work. So if you are in business, don't be afraid to share how many times you failed. If you are leading an organization, if you're a manager or leader, leading a small team or large team, be open, be transparent, be able to share and tell others what you've done, what you have not done. I'm not saying that you should make it personal, right? Share all your business, but I'm saying be able to be transparent. All these things build trust between you and your teams. So I want to hear from you. Tell me some of the things that you've used or you've utilized in helping to enhance your team's performance. What have you tried? Maybe you've tried or you failed, right? Temporary setbacks. I want to hear. Drop that in the comments field so that I can have a conversation with you, because this is what it's all about. Hi, Rashan. shout out to you all the way in Texas. Let me hear from you. Just tell us exactly what are some of the things that you have experienced. And I'm sure our viewers and listeners will be very appreciative of some of the things that you have utilized. Another point or another strategy that I want to bring up is the ability to empower and delegate. By knowing your team members, by knowing what are some of their areas and opportunities, some of their strengths, what are they strong at, what are some of the things that they can focus on, what are some of their areas that need to be further in terms of develop. You can empower and delegate. See, sometimes we want to do everything on our own. Newsflash, you can't. Been there, done that. See, if you've listened to me over the extended period of time, or if you were in any of our training classes, you'll hear me say, I may not be the smartest person, I'm not, but my claim to fame is this, is the strong work ethic. I will match you effort to effort when it comes to work. Now, I'm not saying by bragging, because that in itself is a downfall. It could be a strength, but it's also, when misapplied or overdone, it could be seen as a negative. Here's why. Because the tendency, we've all heard this quote, or we've all heard this saying, if you want something done right, do it by yourself. Well, that's nonsense. If you are building a team, if you're looking to enhance a team for success, that's nonsense. Here's the key to it, right? You want to find out where your team is, going back to knowing your team. Who does what on the team? What are their work strengths? What are their gifts and talents? And empower them to utilize it in the team. Set the atmosphere. Set the environment within the team where these gifts and talents can be used. And then you delegate them. Delegate the work to the individuals. Here's what happens. When you delegate, now you're finding out exactly, wow, I didn't know Joe could do that. I didn't know Mary could do that. Who knew? So now you are empowering and delegating. You're finding out the gifts and talents of others. You're helping them to move forward. You're helping the team, but in essence, you're also helping yourself. Because we all have 24 hours in a day, folks. 24 hours. We would love to have 25 and 26, but we all have 24 hours in a day. There's no way that we can do everything that we would want to do within 24 hours. Well, let me say this. Some may be better at managing time. I'm learning. I'm learning how to be more effective at that. But if you want to have a successful team, enhance performance within your team, another strategy as a leader or manager is learn to delegate. Learn how to empower, those two words, empower and delegate. Empower your team members to step forward, to do the work, put their hands up and says, boss or leader, let me do that. And you as a leader or manager, your responsibility is to relinquish that job or that task. Allow them to do it. Yes, they may not do it like how you would, but as long as the job is done, as long as the task is done, yeah, they may fail the first time, second time, third time, but it's all a learning process. How did you get to where you are? We all have failures and setbacks. but it's all about making sure that your team is empowered and knowing that you have their back. Don't be afraid to delegate. I had to learn that. That was one of my struggles. I really had to learn how to let go and learn how to delegate. So I encourage you. It's not that bad. I encourage you to empower your team members and be able to let go and see them grow. You may be surprised at the talent that's on your team. You may be shocked. I guarantee you. Let's see what some of our viewers are saying here. Daniel Kelso says recognition. I imagine that you're speaking in terms of what your drivers are. Thank you, Daniel. Greatly appreciate that. Rasan says, I've celebrated individual accomplishments, contributions in front of the group to build morale. Fantastic job. Yep, absolutely. Let's continue here. Rasan again says, failures I have made on a team is that I have not delegated well because I have not given people the power once I've delegated. So that is something I am working on. I hear you. I get it. I am still a work in progress when that is concerned, but I've gotten much better at it, right? Is just to make sure that I let go and realize that not everyone is going to do it the same way I do. And it's okay. It is okay. The other thing is in terms of knowing your team and communicating is the ability to communicate in the right style. Again, not everyone is like you. Not everyone communicates the way you do. In our trainings and as part of our business, we use an assessment which identifies what your motives are. And we talk about how do we use that in order to communicate effectively within our team. And it's not just our work team. It could be our home team. It could be our sports team, right? It could be simply getting our sports team from where they are to where they should be. So we're not just focused on the work team, although this is what we talk about on this program, but it could be many other teams. It could be a ministry team. So the goal here is really to identify how do we communicate with someone that is not like us? How do we communicate effectively with someone, what we call with our MVS, our motivational value system? Drop me a note and I'll tell you more about that and what that means. But we use this assessment to identify us, what our motives are, why we do the things that we do, but more importantly, what are the motives of others around us on our team, why they do the things that they do. And then how can we use that to effectively communicate with them? See, some people like more information. They like to process, like to take time to really dot the I's and cross the T's. They're more what we call processors. They're focused on the analytical side. Then some others are more focused on people. So others that may be more focused on performance. So if I'm focused on performance and I'm talking to someone that is focused more on people, what do I do? How do I handle that? I can't come in and talk with them about performance. I have to focus on more the people side, right? Or if I'm talking to someone, if I'm focused on people and I'm talking to someone that's focused on process, what do I do? How do I handle that? So these are things when you're looking at building or enhancing team performance, you need to do. You need to find out how your team, who's on the team, what is the method of communicating in the right way to avoid putting them in conflict or to avoid misunderstanding. And last but not least is, what is their communication preference? We are seeing that across the board as we're engaging organizations, small, large, non-for-profit, for-profit. We are seeing this. What's happening because of the generations, the connected generation maybe focus on texting, messaging. The baby boomers maybe focus on what? Communicating in person, on the phone. So if you don't understand the communication preference between these two, you can do some real damage. So it's a privilege, as I said, to be a leader. It's not a right, it's a privilege. But with leadership, if you're looking to enhance your team, there are some strategies that you truly need to understand in order to be an effective leader, one, but to drive and enhance performance within your team, to have a high-performing team in order to have success within your organization. Now, if you want more information about this, I'm going to put up my email address here. If you want more information about how can you as a leader or within your organization, a group of leaders, how can you enhance or improve the team performance, take it from where it is. And I'm not saying that you are not doing well now. Some of your teams are growing, right? You may have a high-performing team, but don't settle. Why settle there? Go bigger. So you can drop me a line here, send me an email, info@jackmangroup.llc.com. I would love to hear from you. I would like to engage with you. And we would love the opportunity to partner with you and your team. So at the Jackman Group, which is the sponsor of this broadcast, which we work with teams, individuals across the country and across the world, we would love the opportunity to work with you. So if is leadership training and developing, if it is team enhancement, if it is leadership coaching, if it's strategic or organizational planning, and you want to go to the next level, drop me a line. We want to partner with you. So that's it for now. I want to thank you for joining me today. I hope this was helpful. This was beneficial. Remember, focus on the team. Communicate. Build a diverse team. Not just diverse in people, diverse in thought, diverse in skill set. Set clear goals. Set clear responsibilities and roles. Empower and delegate. Know your team. And learn how to communicate effectively with your team. That's about it. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you share this broadcast with others. Don't keep the information for yourself. Get it out. Share it with others. And we will see you next week. Same time. Thursday. Have a good one. Have a good night. Good morning. Good afternoon, wherever you are. May God bless you and your family. We'll see you next week. Peace.